Hello, I welcome you to today's lesson. Today we have science, so wherever you are, pay attention. I want to know your name, the name of your school, the name of your town. I hope you know my name, or you don't know my name. My name is Paul Williams Ofori. Today we are going to look at the relationship between heat and temperature. We are looking at the relationship between heat and what? Temperature. We have heard about temperature. We have heard about heat. Sources of heat. Temperature. Okay, so in this lesson there are some words that we need to know how they are pronounced and the meaning. The first word is temperature. What is temperature? Temperature is the measurement of how hot or cold a substance is. So how hot a substance is, how cold a substance is. The measurement is what? Temperature. The degree of hotness or the degree of coldness of a substance. So if you have water, the water is cold. The water is not cold or hot. The degree of the coldness, the degree of the hotness, that is what we call what? Temperature. The next word is heat. Heat. Heat is a form of energy. Heat, it is a form of what? Energy. So energy that moves from one point to another. It can only move there if there is what? A difference in temperature between the 2 points. So if there is fire here and there is no fire here, heat will move from where the fire is to the other side. So that energy will be transferred from here to this side because of what? The difference or the differences between these two parts in terms of what? Temperature. So difference in temperature causes heat to be transferred from one point to another. So heat is a form of energy. Transfer means to move from one point to another point. The next word is thermometer. Thermometer is used when you go to the hospital. You see the doctors, the nurses, they use thermometer. They check our temperature. So thermometer is used to measure temperature. An instrument that is used to measure temperature. And then we have calorimeter. Calorimeter too is used to measure heat. So this is for temperature. This is also for heat. Now, if you measure something, what will indicate that you measure the thing in this? So the SI units, let's look at them. Let's go back and let me show you something. Let's say you have measured temperature and you got 30. Will you just write 30? No. You add something to it. Is it 30 centimeters? 30 minutes? Or 30 degrees? Or 30 degrees Celsius? Which of them? Any form of measurement, you need to attach the SI units to it. So it is not temperature, it's not measured in centimeters, it's not measured in minutes, it's not measured in degrees, but it's measured in degrees Celsius. It is measured in what? It is measured in degrees Celsius. So anytime you measure temperature, you use thermometer. You use thermometer to measure what? Temperature. And after measuring the temperature, what you get, you need to write them in degrees Celsius or in degree Fahrenheit. So temperature is measured in degrees Celsius or degrees Fahrenheit. So if you are asked to write the SI units, if you are asked to write the SI unit for temperature, it is degrees Celsius or degrees Fahrenheit. And we have also seen heat. Heat is a form of energy. So let's say we have fire here. This is point 1, and then point 2. There is no fire. So there is a metal joining these 2 points. There is what? Heat here, there is fire here. So you see the heat, because of the fire, the heat will be transferred through this to the other points. So that is what energy is all about. The heat is able to move from here to this place because the temperature here, the degree of hotness here, and the degree of hotness here are not the same. So heat is able to travel, is able to move because of what? Differences in what? Temperature. So here, because here is hot, you can't even touch it, but this side you can touch it. But because it is connected, or they are connected by a metal, the heat will pass through the metal, come to this side. So later on, this side will start getting more heat. The temperature will start going up. So heat is a form of energy that moves from one point to another point as a result of the differences in temperature between the 2 points. So the temperature here, if it is not the same as here and there is heat here, the heat will travel to the other side. Okay, and we use calorimeter to measure heat. And you should also know that heat is also measured in joules. So this is what you should know about heat and temperature. Now let's go back. So here we are saying that the instrument used to measure temperature is called thermometer. So if you want to measure temperature, if you want to measure how hot or how cold my body is, if I want to measure how hot or how cold your body is, I need an instrument, I need a device, and the device is called what? Thermometer. If I measure the temperature and I got 36, 37, I don't just write 37. No, I'm not supposed to write only 37. If you write 37 just like that, you are wrong. Because you are measuring temperature, you need to bring degrees Celsius or degree Fahrenheit. These are the 2 SI units, or the 2 units that we use for temperature. Now, if you're also measuring heat, you use calorimeter, and it is also measured in joules. Okay. Now let's look at the difference, or the differences between heat and temperature. What are the differences? Is heat the same as temperature? Is heat the same as temperature? Let's look at them. 1. Heat. Heat is a form of energy that travels from one point to another. Temperature. Temperature is the degree of coldness or hotness of a body or substance. So listen. Energy traveling from one point to another as a result of differences in temperature, that is called what? Heat. But temperature is the measurements. Is the measurements. Also the degree of coldness or hotness of a body or a substance. So they are not the same. One is what? The degree of hotness, and 1, 2 is what? Energy that is traveling from one point to another. 1, 2 what? Measures how hot or how cold something is. So temperature measures the degree of coldness or what? Hotness of a body. Now let's come here. Heat is measured in joules. If you measure heat, you write it in joules. If you measure temperature too, you don't use what joules, you use what degree Celsius or degree Fahrenheit. The last thing that you should know, what do you need to measure heat? You need calorimeter. So calorimeter is used to measure what? Heat. If you want to measure temperature too, you use what? Thermometer. So calorimeter is a device used to measure heat. But if you want to measure temperature, we don't use calorimeter, we use what? Thermometer. So these are the differences that you should know. 3 things. 1, heat is a form of energy, but temperature is not a form of energy. It's a measurement of how hot or cold a substance is. When you come here, let's look at the unit of measurement. Now, heat is measured in what? Joules, but temperature is measured in degree Celsius or degree Fahrenheit. Let's look at what is used to measure heat and what is used to measure temperature. So here we use calorimeter to measure what? Heat, but thermometer is used to measure what? Temperature. When you go to the hospital, they check your temperature. They use thermometer, they put it under your armpits here. So it is used to what? To know how hot your body is, how cold your body is. It's used to measure how hot your body is, how cold your body is. That is what? Thermometer. And when they finish and they are writing, the number they will get, they will bring degree Celsius or degree Fahrenheit to indicate that this measurement or this number is what? Temperature. But in the case of heat, they will use calorimeter to measure. Whatever figure they will get, they will bring what? Joules. The joules indicates that that is for what? Heat. That number, that figure is for what? Heat. Remember that heat is a form of energy, and it can only move from one point to another when there is what? Difference in temperature between the 2 points. But when it comes to temperature, it's just a measurement of how hot your body is, how cold your body is, how hot a substance is, or how cold a substance is. It's a measurement. This is what? Energy. Now let's come to effect of heat on temperature. So heat, does it have any effect on temperature? Let's see. When an object gains heat, the temperature of the object increases. So if this thing gains heat to the extent that I cannot even hold it, if I measure the temperature will be high. So the higher the heat, the higher the temperature. The higher the heat, the higher the temperature. So if you have water, you put it in the fridge, and another one, you put it on fire. If you put your hand in, you dip your hand in the cold water, you know how it will feel. You dip your hand in the hot water, you know how it is felt. So how you feel. If you put thermometer in the two, the cold one, the temperature will not go up. The temperature will not go up. But the hot one, because it contains heat, the temperature will go up. So the more the heat, the more what? The temperature. The higher the heat, the higher the temperature. Now the next one is that an object loses heat, or when an object loses heat, the temperature of the object decreases. So if you have hot objects, hot water, and later it what? The hotness reduces, becomes cold, and you measure it, the temperature also what? Reduce. So if the temperature, if the heat increases, and it also increases the temperature, if the heat also reduces, it also reduces what? The temperature. So the higher the temperature, the higher the heat, the higher the temperature. The lower the heat, the lower the temperature. That is all you should know. The higher the heat, the higher the temperature. The lower the heat, the lower the temperature. Okay. The temperature of an object changes if it gains or loses heat. So anything that gains heat, the temperature changes. Anything that loses heat, the temperature what? Changes. So the temperature is not just the same if that object gains or loses heat. The moment it gains heat, the temperature will increase. The moment it loses what heat, the temperature will what? Decrease. Okay. The next one is that heat is a factor that changes temperature. So temperature can only be changed. Temperature can only be changed because of what? Heat. Okay, so temperature of an object can be increased or decreased by what? Gaining or losing heat. So this is what we have learned. Today, our lesson is all about heat. It's about temperature. We have learned that heat is a form of energy. Temperature too is a measure of how hot or how cold a substance is. I hope you have enjoyed the lesson. Don't worry, today exercises are here. Exercise 1, 2, 3. We have home assignment 1, home assignment 2. Make sure you do all of them. Get copies, read. Go to TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. We are there. Apart from science, we have Asante Tree, Equipment Tree. Get copies and read. My name is Paul William Sofori. Thank you.